Most folks figure that by the time midsummer rolls around, cucumber season is pretty much a wrap. The vines look exhausted. The leaves has slowed down to a crawl compared to the boom of June. So gardeners everywhere just kind of throw in the towel. They stop fertilizing, quit paying attention, and just let the plants limp toward the finish line. Honestly, that is one of the costliest blunders you can make all year. I'm talking expensive in terms of the sheer pounds of food you're leaving on the table. Because here is the secret almost no one mentions. The back half of summer shouldn't just match your early harvests. It can completely crush them. By the middle of the season, your cucumbers aren't delicate little seedlings figuring out how to survive anymore. They're fully mature. They've got deep, established roots and massive leaf canopies. Biologically speaking, they are at the absolute peak of their strength. And if you give a peak performance plant the right kind of care, it's going to pump out fruit heavier and faster than it ever did in the spring. I see it play out in my own backyard every single year. Through late July and all of August, I'm hauling in baskets full of cucumbers while folks down the block are yanking dead, crispy vines out of their dirt. We have the exact same weather, the exact same heat, the exact same rain. The only thing that separates us is how we handle our crops in that second half of the year. Today, I'm handing you that exact playbook. We're going to cover 5 specific tactics that will literally double your yield for the rest of the season. After that, I'll walk you through the only 3 DIY sprays you will ever need, ones that completely knock out pests, diseases, and nutritional issues using cheap ingredients sitting in your kitchen right now. Stick around for the whole thing, because those late season sprays are the armor and fuel for everything we build up front. Let's jump right in. Real quick before we dive deeper, I want to talk straight to you for a second. If you are the kind of grower who craves practical, battle-tested gardening advice, stuff that actually works in a real backyard with real weather, not just a bunch of recycled hacks, you've found your home. Every week, I drop comprehensive guides exactly like this one. I unpack the frustrating problems nobody else bothers to explain, show you dirt, cheap homemade fixes, and share that deep, generational growing knowledge that used to be passed over the backyard fence before people forgot it. So, zaw me a quick solid before we move on. Smash that subscribe button and hit the notification bell. It's totally free and takes half a second, but it ensures that the next video that might just save your garden actually shows up on your feed instead of getting buried. Thousands of folks are already pulling bigger harvests because of what we do here, and I'd absolutely love to have you on board. Go ahead and click it. I'll wait. Done. Awesome. Now, let's get back to those cucumbers. Before we start fixing things, you have to grasp why these plants stall out when the heat cranks up. Once you get the why, every solution I show you is going to make total obvious sense. There are 4 main culprits. First is aphids. That is just a buzzword. It means they suck a massive amount of nutrition out of the dirt to build vines and push out fruit. Think about what this plant is doing. Massive vines, dozens of flowers, and cucumber after cucumber, which are basically just water and plant sugars that the plant had to build from scratch. All of that takes a massive toll on your soil. By midsummer, a hard-working plant has practically sucked its root zone dry. If you aren't actively replenishing the soil, the plant hits a wall. It can't run on fumes, so it stalls out just to survive. Reason number 2 is heat and water stress. Sure, cucumbers like it warm, but they have their limits. When the thermometer pushes in the 90s and just sits there, the plant goes into panic mode. It halts fruit production because making babies takes energy, and staying alive is priority number 1. Throw spotty watering in the mix, and the issue compounds. Since these fruits are 96% water, letting the dirt bounce between bone, dry and soaking wet puts the plant into a state of constant shock, and a stressed plant simply won't produce. The third reason is one most folks completely overlook, yet it's quite the biggest deal breaker of all. The plant is trying to go to seed. Grasp this, and you've hacked the cucumber code. A cucumber vine doesn't grow to make you a salad. It grows to reproduce. The fruit itself is just a carrying case for seeds. When you leave a cucumber on the vine until it gets massive and turns yellow, those seeds inside are reaching maturity. The second the plant senses it has successfully grown mature seeds, a massive biological switch flips. Mission accomplished. It stops flowering and stops fruiting. That's why a vine with just one or two giant, forgotten blimps hanging off it will basically shut down entirely. Those oversized fruits are literally broadcasting a stop working signal to the whole plant. The fourth reason is the mounting pressure from bugs and diseases that has been building since day one. Mildew and mites don't just magically appear overnight. They build up by July. Powdery mildew has had plenty of time to take hold, and aphid colonies have skyrocketed. Here's the bottom line. A plant that's fighting for its life against bugs and fungus doesn't have the juice to make cucumbers. Every leaf covered in mildew is a leaf that stops catching sunlight, and every aphid cluster is sucking away the sap meant for your harvest. So, there you have it. Empty soil, the seeds shut down, and pest, disease, overload. The good news? Every single one of these is totally fixable. Let's knock them all out. Tactic number one for a double harvest is ruthless, daily picking. Listen closely to this one because it sounds a little backwards at first. How does taking cucumbers off the plant give you more cucumbers? Remember that seed-making signal we just talked about. The plant's sole purpose is to finish developing mature seeds. That is the finish line. The trick is, if you snatch those cucumbers while they're young way before the seeds full develop, you pull the fruit before the plant ever crosses that finish line. From its perspective, it failed. So what happens? It tries then. It pushes out more blooms, more fruit, making another run at it. And if you keep pulling them off early, it keeps failing, which force it into a continuous loop of production all season long. You are literally tricking nature into working overtime. Every young cuc you pick sends a clear message. Not done yet, keep pushing. And it will. So here is your golden rule for the rest of the year, and treat this as non-negotiable. Negotiable. Walk your beds every few days. Every single J. Summer heat makes these things explode in size overnight. A fruit that looks a bit too tiny on Tuesday will be absolutely prime on Wednesday and way overgrown by Thursday. Grab them the second they hit a decent size and deliberately lean towards picking them a bit small. A smaller cuc is crunchy, sweet, and keeps the plant hustling. A massive one hits the brakes. And this part is vital. If you do spot a monster cucumber hiding under leaves that's getting fat, pale, and starting to yellow, rip it off immediately. Even if it goes straight to the compost pile, do not leave it hanging there out of guilt or hope. That single oversized fruit is actively suppressing your entire plant. Get it off, and the plant gets the green light to start up again. Pick daily, pick early, and be completely ruthless about it. If you only follow this one tip, your yields will skyrocket in a single week. Tactic 2 is fueling the plant aggressively and accurately, because doing it right is just as crucial as doing it heavy. By the middle of the season, your vines are running on empty. You've got to fill the tank back up. But here is the trap most gardeners fall into. They grab whatever random bag of fertilizer is in the shed, usually something packed with nitrogen, and dump it on. Then they're scratching their heads wondering why they have a massive, lush jungle of green leaves but barely any actual cucumbers. Here is the basic science to lock in. Nitrogen pushes leafy green growth. It builds vines. Phosphorus and potassium put flowers and fruit. Right now, you don't need more leaves. You already have plenty of plant. You want the actual harvest. So, you feed for fruiting, which means cutting back the nitrogen and loading up on the potassium and phosphorus. I'll give you the exact DIY recipe for this in the spray breakdown coming up, but lock this principle in right now. From this moment on, you need to feed these vines every 7 to 10 days without fail. A consistently proper fueled cucumber plant in late summer will easily yield neglected 1-3 to 1. Nutrition is the engine that drives everything else in this system. Tactic 3 is giving the plant a second wind through strategic pruning. This can feel a little intimidating the first time, but it works beautifully. By midsummer, your cucumber patch is almost certainly a chaotic, tangled mess. You've got old yellowing leaves near the dirt, dead stuff, vines crossing over each other, and incredibly dense spots where the sun can't reach and the air just doesn't move. All that old garbage is a massive energy drain. It costs the plant valuable resource trying to keep those useless leaves alive, resources stolen straight from your harvest. Here is the game plan. Get in there and snip off the yellowing, beat up foliage near the base. Take out anything showing signs of disease, spotting, or mildew, and open up the thickest parts of the canopy so sunlight and breezes can get all the way inside. Doing this hits 2 birds with 1 stone. First, it stops the plant from wasting energy propping up dead weight, redirecting all that power into fresh growth and new fruit. Second, it drastically boosts airflow, which is hands down your greatest weapon against the late summer fungal diseases that usually wipe these plants out. Moving air dries out the leaves, and dry leaf resists fungus. Just a quick warning, don't go crazy. Never chop off more than 1/3 of the plant's total green leaves at once, or you'll send it into shock. But a smart, calculated cleanup gives a tired vine a massive second wind, and watching it explode with fresh, vigorous green growth right afterward is honestly one of the most satisfying feelings in the garden. Tactic 4 is dialing in your watering to beat the heat. Cucumbers are 96% water, and late summer heat is completely unforgiving. Sloppy watering habits are the absolute fastest way to halt production, and it's also the primary reason homegrown cucumbers end up tasting horribly bitter. When the dirt dries out, gets flooded, and dries out again, that stress cycle creates bitter compounds and makes the vine abort developing fruit. You need to water deeply, thoroughly, and consistently down to about 6 to 8 inches where the working roots live. Stop giving them a quick splash every afternoon. That just wets the surface and makes the roots shallow. Instead, give them a heavy, deep soak 2 or 3 times a week right at the base of the stem, first thing in the morning. That way, the plant is totally fully charged before the midday heat hits. And then you must use mulch. If you take away just one thing from this section, let it be this. Drop a 3-inch blanket of straw, chopped leaves, or dry grass clippings all around the base of every plant. Mulch locks that moisture in so the dirt never flashes dry. It acts like air conditioning for the root zone during brutal heat waves, and it completely smooths out that wet to dry roller coaster that causes bitter cucumbers. A good layer of mulch alone is often the difference between a plant that quits in early August and one that keeps pumping out heavy food in the fall. Tactic 5 is a pro move that beginners almost never utilize. Start a brand new succession planting right now. You have to shift your mindset. You aren't permanently relying solely on the vines you already have. Eventually, those original plants are going to age out, no matter how perfectly you baby them. That's just biology. But in almost every region across the country, and in many parts of the world, midsummer means you still have a massive chunk of the growing season left, way more than enough time to raise an entire new batch from scratch. Cucumbers are fast. A lot of varieties can jump from a seed to your first harvest in just 50 to 60 days. If you shove some new seeds in the dirt today, those baby plants are going to hit their stride and maximum production exactly when your current plants are finally fading out. The 2 waves overlap, and that overlap is the secret to a continued harvest that stretched weeks longer than one single planting ever could manage, and you don't even need much space for this. Drop a few seeds into an empty corner, grab a large container, or throw them in wherever an earlier crop just finished up. 2 months from now, while everyone else on the block is done for the year, you'll be sitting on fresh, aggressive vines loaded with cucumbers. So, that's the complete 5-MART system. Aggressive daily picking, heavy and accurate feeding, restorative pruning, deep mulch watering, and a fresh succession planting. Now, let's talk about what protects and supercharges all of that hard work. I'm going to hand you the only 3 home sprays you'll ever need. Spray number 1 is your disease shield. This is the baking soda mix, and it is the most effective DIY tool against powdery mildew and downy mildew, the 2 fungal nightmares that completely annihilate late-season cucumber harvests. Powdery mildew looks like someone dusted your plants with white flour. It usually starts down low on the older leaves and creeps upward. In warm, sticky conditions, it spreads with terrifying speed. It's devastating because as that white coating spreads, it literally blocks the leaf from photosynthesizing. Photosynthesis is how the plant makes energy. Less energy means fewer cucumbers, and often 0 cucumbers. During the swampy summer months, this is the single biggest harvest killer out there. Here is the exact recipe. Into 1 gallon of water, mix 1 tablespoon of baking soda, 1 teaspoon of liquid dish soap, and 1 tablespoon of vegetable oil. Stir it up incredibly well. Every single thing in that bucket has a purpose. The baking soda spikes the surface pH on the leaf, turning it into a highly alkaline environment where fungus spores cannot survive. The oil acts as a sticker, coating the foliage so the dust just run off. And the dish soap is an emulsifier and forces the oil and water to instead of just beating up. Application is a massive deal here. Make sure you blast both the tops and the undersides of every single leaf. Apply this early in the morning or late in the evening. Never ever spray this during the heat of the day or in direct, blazing hot sun, because oil on a leaf in full sun will scorch your foliage to a crisp. Hit the vines once a week as prevention and bump it up to every 4 or 5 days if you already spot the mildew creeping in. Now, here is a legendary old school variation if you want to switch it up. A milk spray. Mix a part milk to 2 parts water and douse the leaves. It sounds totally bizarre, but the proteins in the milk interact with sunlight to create a natural antifungal effect, and it genuinely suppresses powdery mildew. My best advice? Alternate back and forth between the 2 throughout the season. Rotating your defenses makes your plants way toughen, just using 1 trick on repeat. Spray number 2 is your pest eliminator. This is the neem oil and soap combo, and it handles the bugs that try to conquer your garden by midsummer, aphids, spider mites, whiteflies, and to some degree, cucumber beetles. By late summer, the population have been breeding for months, and their numbers just explode. Aphids pile up in dense clusters on the tender new growth and flower stems, literally draining out the sap that should be going in your fruit. Spider mites, which absolutely love hot, dry weather, will drain your leaves until they look like crispy bronzed potato chips. Cucumber beetles chomp right through your flowers and drag bacteria diseases along with them. Every single one of these pests is stealing energy that belongs in your cucumbers. Here's the spray. Into 1 gallon of water, dump 2 tablespoons of neem oil and 1 teaspoon of liquid dish soap. Mix it fiercely and keep shaking the bottle while you use it, because oil and water are constantly trying to separate. Neem oil is brilliant because it scrambles the feeding behavior and life cycles of soft-bodied bugs. It stops them from eating, molting, and breeding, but it does it without poisoning your plant. Plus, it breaks down relatively quickly, make it vastly gentler on your backyard ecosystem than harsh synthetic pesticides. Blast both sides of the foliage and go incredibly heavy on the undersides, because that is exactly where pests hide out and lay their eggs. Now, listen closely, because this next rule is non-negotiable. You must apply this spray in the evening, long after the bees have clocked out and gone home for the day. This is not optional. Cucumbers rely entirely on bees for pollination. No bees, no pollinated flowers, no fruit. Neem oil can seriously hurt pollinators if you hit them directly while they're out working. By spraying at dusk once they left, the spray has time to settle and dry, keeping your bees completely protected the next day. Reapply this every 5 to 7 days until the bugs are wiped out. Spray number 3 is your heavy-duty growth and fruit booster. This one isn't a defensive shield like the first two. It's pure nutritional feed. The potassium and phosphorus fuel I promised you earlier, and it's the exact secret to powering heavy, sustained fruit production for the rest of the season. It's a combined banana peel and compost tea. Here is how you brew it. Grab 4 or 5 banana peels and chop them up into pieces. Toss them in a 5-gallon bucket, along with 2 generous handfuls of fully finished compost. Fill the bucket to the top with water. Let that whole mix steep for 2 or 3 days. Give it a good stir once every 2-4 hours. Here is why this is pure magic. Banana peels are absolutely loaded with potassium. And potassium is exactly what a cucumber plant demands to set strong flowers and fill out fruit. While it steeps, all that raw potassium leaches right out into the water. Meanwhile, the compost is dumping in a perfect balanced blend of trace nutrients and beneficial soil microbes that supercharge both the plant and the living dirt around its roots. Blended together, you've just created a masterclass potassium-forward fruiting fertilizer perfectly tailored to what a late summer cucumber vine is starving for. When it's done brewing, strain out the solids. Cut the dark liquid roughly half and half with fresh water and drench the soil around the base of every vine once a week. This acts like an IV drip of pure energy for a depleted, hard-working plant. If you combine this heavy feeding routine with that aggressive daily harvesting, you've just unlocked the ultimate 1-2 punch of this entire system. That specific combo is what legitimately and measurably doubles your yield. So those are your 3 sprays. Baking soda or milk to fight the fungus, neem and soap to destroy the bugs, and banana compost tea to push the fruit. Disease, pests, and nutrition, all completely handled for pennies, right out of your own kitchen. Now, I want to drop a few advanced details that separate a good harvest from a truly incredible one. First up, trellising. If your vines are just sprawling across the dirt right now, you are sacrificed food and begging for disease. Cucumbers were built to climb. Train them up a trellis or a piece of netting, and 3 amazing things happen instantly. The fruit hangs straight down in the air, so it grows perfect straight instead of curling up and rotting in the mud. The wind can circulate freely, which slash your chance of fung disease. And every single leaf gets blasted with full sun, which gives the plant way more fuel to build cucumbers. If they're currently on the ground, it's not too late. Just carefully lift the main vines up onto a support system. The plant will bounce back and reward you in a matter of days. Detail number 2. Learn to read your flowers. The male blossoms sit on skinny. The female blossoms have a tiny miniature cucumber attached right at the base. That little swelling is the fruit waiting to explode if it gets pollinated. If you notice those baby cucumbers shriveling up and dropping off instead of getting huge, you have a pollination failure. Which brings me to hand pollination, your absolute secret weapon when the bees are scarce. The whole fix takes maybe 4 minutes. Grab a small, dry paintbrush in the morning. Swirl it around the inside of a male flower to pick up the pollen, and then gently paint it right in the middle of every open female flower you can find. That's it. You just did the bee's job. Keep that up every morn for a week during a slow patch, and you'll see your fruit set completely jump. And finally, pay attention. Walk your garden every single day. Don't just go out there to pick food. Go out there to really look. The gardeners pulling astonishing harvests aren't magically working harder. No see ha thing. They spot the very first tiny speck of mildew before it takes over. They crush an aphid outbreak when it's only 10 bugs instead of 10,000. 5 minutes in every morning is vastly more valuable than any product you could ever buy. Let me wrap this all into one simple routine for you, because staying consistent is the only way this works. Every single day, harvest everything that's big enough to use. Never skip a day. This is the single most crucial habit of the whole system. Once a week is all your maintenance patrol. Hit the leaves with the baking soda or milk spray. Inspect for bugs, and if you see them build up, apply the neem spray that evening. Then pour your banana peel tea right around the roots. Every couple weeks, give the plants a quick cleanup. Snip out the old, yellow, and sick leaves. Open up the dense spots and keep your watering totally rock solid the entire time. Deep, heavy watering 2 or 3 times a week, always over a thick layer of mulch. Daily pick, weekly spray and feed, bi-weekly cleanup, consistent deep watering. Lock in that rhythm, and your vines are going to keep pumping out food right up until the freezing weather hits long after the rest of the neighborhood has ripped out their gardens and given up. Here is the absolute heart of it all. The reason most folks end up with a lousy, disappointing cucumber season isn't because they have bad luck. It isn't garbage soil. It's because they treat the back half of the summer like it's the end of the story. They ease off the fertilizer. They stop playing defense. They let the picking slide. And they do all of this at the exact moment when their mature, deeply rooted, fully established vines are actually capable of generating the most food of the entire year. You know better now. A plant that is well fed, high protected, and relentlessly picked in the late summer isn't winding down. It is at the absolute peak of its powers. So don't quit on your cucumbers. Don't pull those vines out of the dirt just yet. The greatest part of your harvest might still be waiting for you. If this blueprint gave you a real, actionable plan today, go ahead and smash that like button. It seriously helps push this channel out to more growers. Share this video with someone who thinks their cucumber season is already cooked. And if you haven't locked in your subscription yet, hit that button and ring the bell so the next guide drops right in front of you.